And welcome back to another Teamless Tuesday. We're going to be talking about NRL fantasy. We're going to be talking about all the fallout from round 13. We're going to be trying to predict what's going to happen following these Origin games as well. So let's jump right into it here. We've got a big set of team lists. Look, I'm going to give you a spoiler right now. Todd Payton, he is messing around with our fantasy sides. Don't overreact is my advice there. All right, let's jump right in here. So first game we got is the Dragons and the Tigers. Dragons and the Tigers. This game's had some very good games in the past. So you think like 2005 semi-finals, that was a cracking game. They've had some stinkers as well. We have no idea what's going to go on here. I'm actually getting a few comments here that are a bit hurtful. You know that I cried about Teddy. Yes, I did. So last week, I vice-captained Kale Iro because he was the first player of the round. And he was my only player that I was starting in that Sharks game, other than Atkinson. And I thought, you know what, I'll just lock that in. I'll give myself roster flexibility. And I think I got stuck with Teddy as captain. It was a tough one. But Teddy will be getting sold this week. Now let's jump right into it here. So Dragons up first. We've got Tyrell Sloan. We've got Finau, Sully, Finai, Flanagan, and Marshke. So Ben Hunt is going to be somewhere. We're going to do a lot of this today where we scroll down to the extended bench and have a look at this. Here we go. So Ben Hunt's just here. Jaden Sewer's just here. Zach Lomax just here. So basically what we're going to see here is a team where they've named it as though these guys aren't going to back up. They probably will back up. Most of the time, these guys do back up. So I would expect that Lomax will come into this team, probably in number 2 jersey, I would say. He might go to center. There's a bit of talk of that as well, but probably number 2 jersey. I would say Ben Hunt comes in for Marshke. So if you're looking at Marshke as an option, unless Ben Hunt really gets beat up in that Origin game, I wouldn't be doing that. And then Jaden Sewer will come back in as well, I would expect too. So Jaden Sewer coming in for probably Fatah Mariner, seeing Mariner go to the bench. They could do anything here. So Laurie won't get dropped. If I was the coach, I'd probably send Murdoch Masilla to the extended bench and keep the Couchman brothers in because they were pretty good last week. As a few of you guys mentioned, that they've sort of held that spot. They've secured that. So bravo to them. In terms of the Dragons side of the ball, we've got Jack DeBellin still at prop. We've got Luciano Leilua floating around at an okay price. Pretty more interesting for draft leagues if you can get him cheap. If you've got Tom Eisenhuth, it's been a bit up and down. There isn't too much for me to report on the Dragons side. I mean, do you guys have any questions about the Dragons? Because for me, I'm not super interested in buying too many of these players right now. Marshke looked a lot better than Flanagan. Interesting. Yeah, he looked good. He's sort of that hooker half option. I think he might have earned himself a bench spot longer term. So if there is a late Ben Hunt inclusion, we might see that Marshke keeps a bench spot there instead, which doesn't really impact fantasy too much. Ben Hunt want to play the full 80. Yeah, exactly right. We're going to see Harry Grant. Good to see you. Titans on top as well. And then the Dargans. Big fan of the Dargans. Yeah, we love the Dargans. Let's move on 100%. We'll move past these guys. All right, Tigers next game up here. So Jareem Buller, we got Lob, Staines, Olam, Alamalo, and then we've got Galvin and Sullivan in the halves. Interesting to see that we still don't have Caesar back yet or anyone else coming into the half spot. It's looking like more and more that Jaden Sullivan's going to stick into that spot. Probably need to have a look into this, but I would have thought that Caesar was going to be available this week. So if Jaden Sullivan manages to hold that spot, he's at a pretty interesting price. He's been performing quite well. I need to look into this a bit more, but the Tigers' buy schedule is A1, right? So I'm a bit biased towards some of these Tigers players. But for Jaden Sullivan, could be an option. For you guys mentioning Lachlan Galvin as captain, Galvin's going to be my vice captain this week, most likely. Main reason there is that they play the first game of the round. I trust Lockie Galvin, and I think he's a guy you can rely on in that spot. Will mentions it here. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Caesar suspended 1 more week. Okay, I thought he was going to be back this week, but that makes sense. Week 15 back. So we'll see it next week then. If Sullivan holds that spot, he probably gets a bit too expensive by that point, so I'm probably not going to be too interested in him. For the rest of the back line here, look, you could force it. So a guy like Jareem Buller, for example, he is getting a bit cheaper. He could be a guy you look at some points with the Tigers buyers, but I'm probably not going to do it. We also don't need the cheapies that much right now. Coruscant is an interesting one if you guys are talking about him as well. Would I jump onto Coruscant right now? Probably not. I think the fact that we have Brandon Hands is enough coverage for that. So I probably wouldn't be doing that. Let's go through the forward pack here because a few of you guys are wanting to talk about safe art. So we've got Tokamanu and Twal, prop spots. Coruscant, we've got Fainu, Seyfarth, and Matamua in the back row. So what are we doing here? Stefano Tokamanu is interesting. I think he's still vaguely in the Origin frame, and I think if he has some good games and the Blues struggle, he could be a guy that is potentially in the Origin picture. So keep an eye on that. Alex Twal, if you like him, I like him too. This bench is pretty friendly, so Brent Naden is coverage there. Pole probably plays a lot more lock and swaps with Matamua. And you've got Sione Fino and Ruben Porter who are going to come in for some middle minutes, but I think Twal will get his regular sort of 50 minutes in this game. So, yeah, if you're looking at Twal and you want Twal, I don't mind that move at all. Go and jump on Twal. He should be pretty solid for you there. For the rest of the back row, we've still got Bateman out for a bit. We've got Isaiah Papali'i out for a long time as well. Two-time try scorer Alex Twal. Sorry, I've got to call him by his correct name. For Fainu, if you don't have Fainu yet, I think he's a pretty good option as well. So if you want to jump on Samuel Fainu, he's got that middle and edge coverage there too. For Alex Seyfarth, do we want Seyfarth? I mean, one of you guys mentioned a 56 average for Seyfarth when he plays the back row spot. That's kind of interesting. I just don't really trust the talent myself. I don't think that he's the kind of guy who's going to lock down an edge spot for a decent period of time. But at the same time, if he does keep that starting spot, there's basically nothing counting against him. It's just, do you back Seyfarth to hold a starting spot is the question. For me, I mean, surely they've got some other guys sort of contending for that spot. Yeah, maybe Kapoa comes in and plays some minutes there. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question, but I'm not fully trusting Seyfarth, so I'm probably not going to do it. Loves the sin bin, loves the suspension, 100% on those things as well. Matamua, would I get on him? If you need a cash out and you want if Matamua fits your team, I don't mind that, but I wouldn't force it. He's got no guarantees to hold that spot. Even this week, he could easily be benched for Fanua Pole as well. So I wouldn't be rushing to get Matamua, but at the same time, if you need the cash out, he's a good option there too. One of you guys asked about Jack DeBellin. Is he a buy this week? I probably wouldn't be buying him this week. The Dragons have that buy in round 16. They play round 19. So for Dragons players, I wouldn't be rushing to get those guys in until about round 17 myself. Right, next game here, we got Titans and the Bunnies. And this one is juicy for fantasy. So shoot your questions through because I'm making a few trades involving this game myself. So for the Titans, let's go into them first. So Keanu Keeney, you've got Cam Pereira, Brian Kelly, Phil Sami, Jojo Fafita, and we've got Chris Randall and Kieran Foran in the halves. Now, first thing I want to fire off here is that on the extended bench, we've got Jaden Campbell and we've got Jalen I am Groot. Look, Jaden Campbell comes in here. Like, he could be a guy who's sort of floating around this team. Tanner Boyd could potentially be floating around as well. I think both those guys are a potential late in to this side. So for Jaden Campbell, it's a question of what are the Titans wanting to do? And from my perspective, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see Chris Randall go back to his hooker spot. We're going to see him and Verrills rotating at hooker. We'll see Chris Randall play some lock as well, maybe some prop too, because they're pretty light at prop spot. We're going to see one or two things. Either Tanner Boyd will come into the halves with Kieran Foran, which is probably the more sensible option, or we'll see Jaden Campbell come into the 6th jersey next to Kieran Foran. Both could work. Jaden Campbell coming into the 6th jersey could be a good preparation for AJ Brimson to come back at fullback in future weeks, and Keanu Keeney's been really good. The other option there is that Jaden Campbell just comes straight back into fullback. Keanu Keeney goes to the bench, and it's a bit more same than previous weeks. What do I think will happen? It's hard to tell. It's a very early game in the round, so we're going to see pretty early what's going to happen here. But Jaden Campbell at 494K with the buy schedule they have, it's actually kind of interesting. So if Jaden Campbell comes in and plays strong in this game, I would be considering him lightly next week just for the Titans buy schedule. For the rest of the team here, so we go into the forward pack, Fodawaker, Verrills, Bahulu, Fafita, Firma, Haas. You can take a dice roll on most of these guys. The big one here that everyone wants to talk about is Dave Fafita. So lots of questions coming in on him. Has Dave Fafita got a risk of origin if Queensland loses? Absolutely he does. Absolutely he does. The thing with Dave Fafita is that he's not just a guy that you would pick on the edge back row spot. He's also a guy that you could easily have on that bench coming on for 20, 30 minutes at some point in the game to make a big impact. So Dave Fafita has a lot of risk in terms of getting into the Origin side. I don't think he's going to be picked. I've just got this feeling, based on the way Slater sort of talked about the team and the fact that he wasn't on the extended bench and Pia Kura was, for example, I've got a feeling that Fafita will stay out, but I can't guarantee it. And logically, he would be in my best Queensland 17. So it's a tough one for me to argue against. At the same time, though, the starting back rows for them, Nanai and Sua, are both rock solid guys. So I don't think they'll get dropped. I think it's more a case of Dave Fafita might come in on the bench as an impact guy instead. We'll go into this as well. A lot of questions about Souths here. So dual position, Kaloa Matangi. We got Damien Cook going through as well. We got some Titans fans in the house, which is cool to see. Yeah, do you think Fafita is still goodbye even if he gets picked up? I think it's a risk that's worth taking. So Fafita in this game, for example, should be absolutely dominant. I'm not sure exactly what edge would he be on. So Fafita, I believe he'd be on the left against, is it Jai Arrow or Michael Cheekham? Because that's going to make a difference as well. Regardless, I think he's going to be pretty dominant in this game. I think Fafita is a guy that you can captain this week as well. Same as, Cook, Mitchell, they're potential captain options too. Let's get into that actually, because we'll jump across. We'll cover the bench here for the Titans as well. So Liu, Palacia, Aaron Clark, and Jacob Alec. So for these guys, Aaron Clark, what minutes is he going to get? Is a question I'm getting here. 40-ish. It depends though. So 40-ish with the current configuration, maybe less if we see a 6 come in, either Tanner Boyd or Jaden Campbell, and we see Chris Randall playing more lock minutes. Could be even less, but for Aaron Clark, I don't think it's going to be worthwhile. They've had that many injuries, and he just hasn't seemed to benefit from the minutes, so I wouldn't be jumping on Aaron Clark myself, as much as I am a big fan of him as a fantasy prospect. Right, on the South Sydney side of the ball, Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnson, Tane Milne, Richie Kenner, Jacob Gagai. We got Jack Whiten, Cody Walker. All right. Latrell here first. So Latrell could be a force in this game, and the Titans haven't been a defensive juggernaut in recent weeks. They've been better on defense, but they could leak some points, and Latrell's the kind of guy that's going to exploit them. So for Latrell Mitchell, I think he's a decent shout to buy this week, and I think he's less likely to make the Origin side than Dave Fafita is, but still very much a risk. So if there was an injury at all to a center, Latrell could come in. I also think that there's a big chance that Joe Suaalii is, in my mind, he's a better winger than he is a center. So if anything happens to the rest of the team, maybe a winger, something like that, Suaalii could easily move to the wing spot. We could see Latrell pick for center for the Blues. So from my side, there is a bit of risk with Latrell, but I think it's worth a shot. Same with Dave Fafita. The upside of these guys and the fact that they're looking healthy, looking aggressive, playing good footy, to me, especially on the back of a bye, sort of screams that they're going to be massive options. So for me, Dave Fafita, Latrell Mitchell, they're the two big captain options this week in the same game. And it's especially helped by the fact that Nico Hines hasn't even been named at all. So if you're on Nico Hines, you got a bunch of free cash, you want to sell him because he's going to miss this week. He'll play next week and he'll miss the week after and maybe the week after that as well if he gets picked for Origin again. And yeah, good question here. So Best, Ramey and Burton potentially ahead of Latrell. Potentially. So Burton, I think, is being viewed more as a utility. I don't know if they'd actually pick him at center. I like him at center, but I don't know if they'd do it. Ramian had some really bad moments in that Parramatta game. I know we were talking about it too, Jahu. Ramian was getting exposed a bit against Parramatta, and Best is injured right now. So I could make cases against all three, but they all are in the picture as well. Is Cleese Haas a hold? Is he a buy? Yeah. Hold on to Cleese Haas. I think the Origin schedule, the buy schedule, is really good for Cleese Haas, for Titans players. If Fafita got picked, then he would start on the edge in that next buy round, which is awesome. If not, he'll still get more minutes because Mo Fotuaika will probably be in the team. So I think, Cleese Haas, absolutely hold him. I wouldn't necessarily buy him, but I would hold him. And I don't want more people to buy Fafita. Yeah, I know. When you got a pod, you want to keep them secret, but this one cannot be held back, cannot be kept secret. So Yeah, no way we're keeping that one a secret. All right, so for the Bunnies though, let's go through this because the rest of the back line isn't too much to write home about. At some point, Campbell Graham will come back, and I think it's about round 20 that Campbell Graham comes back. It's not of note for your fantasy side, but if you were thinking about potentially stashing a center for a draft league or something like that, and you needed center badly, and you're looking like you're going to make the finals, whatever it is, you could potentially stash Campbell Graham. It's just if you're in the hunt for the finals, you'll need all those roster slots. But he could be a guy you stash there. If you're playing Super Coach, and again you're in a draft league, something like that, Alex Johnson could be a good option with Latrell back as well. I think he'll feast. Jack Whiten, we're talking about him as well. Full game at half. He obviously had that injury last time he played there. This could be a game where he shows out a bit. We saw Cody Walker hitting some form as well before that recent bye round when he had the injury last time they played. There's a lot of interesting options here. South Sydney, again, really good buy schedule. So if you need to get someone who's a bit cheaper, I personally don't with the way my roster is set up. But if you need someone a bit cheaper or a mid-ranger, guys like Jack White and Cody Walker are probably the two interesting ones that you have available here. For the forward pack, David Moale, Damien Cook, Sean Kepi, Michael Cheekham, we've got Jai Arrow and Keon Koloamatangi. So for the forward pack, I think it's worth noting that Cam Murray is going to be back at lock pretty soon in this team. I can't imagine that Cam Murray doesn't play lock. I think he's pretty locked in, right? So for Cam Murray coming back, that probably throws Koloamatangi out the window a little bit. Him at lock, awesome, A1. Him at second row, solid enough, but relies on South Sydney being in decent form and feeding him some tries. So for Koloamatangi, I mean, there is the upside, though, that Cam Murray could easily walk back into the origin side, and Koloamatangi could keep that coverage for around 16 and 19 as well. But at the same time, I don't know if that's enough of a reason to go buy him. So if you need the middle and edge, Koloamatangi is a good shout. He's got a lot of upside. There is a little bit of risk there as well. You're paying a little bit overs after that 104-point game last game, but I think he's a good option. So yeah, have a look at him, but just keep in mind Cam Murray does come back pretty soon. For the rest of the team, a lot of you guys are asking about Damien Cook. Look, cookie time. Here we go. I'll just put your comment up there for a little bit. There's a bunch of you guys asking about him. What to do with Damien Cook? I think it's kind of dicey. I think it's dicey because Mama Zealous is still on that bench. He's been playing a bit of hooker. We've seen Cook move to center. We've seen Cook move to fullback. We've seen Cook move to all these different positions. He's been scoring tries. And can he maintain that? That's the question, right? I don't know if I want to rely on that. I think Damien Cook is an A1 fantasy athlete, but I don't necessarily trust him completely. I'd rather get Brandon Hands myself if I was you and use the money elsewhere because Damien Cook, he could score big for you. It's a risk, but for me, I'm probably going to steer a little bit clear. I know I was a bit high on him about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but just the role hasn't evolved the way I thought it would. And I think he's a little bit dicey at this stage. So good upside in him, but also a bit of risk. Just keep that in mind. If you want the risk, go and do it because he has massive upside. For the rest of the team, I'll just look at some questions here too, actually. Lots of Moale. I'm not that interested. I think there are enough options, enough cash in the bank that we don't need to be doing that. Hey, Longy, I have 4 more trades left. Is Nakora a sell? If you have 4 trades left, then no one is a sell. Mate, if they got a green dot, they're not a sell for you. You're holding on. You've got about 7 weeks left before you get some more trades. So I would be holding on to anyone who can strap on a pair of boots, basically. Need more trades? No. We just need to be more disciplined. We're gonna, use your trades this week, but then plan next week to hold on to those trades. Or, potentially even don't use those trades this week. You don't necessarily have to have a full 17 this week. So ideally you want to, but in general, you don't necessarily have to. Is Nakora a sell in general is probably a different question. I don't think so. He relies on some big attacking stats. So just stick with him. I think he'll bounce back. At some point, he'll be a buy option, actually. Like, we'll look at him. I think their buy is around 16 and around 20 from memory. So I think you could hold on to Nakora this week. We'll talk about him more when we get to the Sharks as well. And then is 5 trades after this round bad if you have all buy coverage to around 19? That's not the worst. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I don't mind using some trades this year. And then is Blora sell? Got that question a lot in Discord. Yeah, by the way, guys, Discord, link is in the description. Discord. I will chuck it up as well. But Blore is a really interesting one. We'll talk about him at the Storm. I think Blore as a whole, I think the Storm buy schedule is quite strong, so I'm pretty happy with Sean Blore. The rest of the bench here, look, Havili, Duncan, Tom Burgess, Moiselis. I'm not that interested in that for South Sydney. And I think Cheekham's a bit of a trap as well, so I wouldn't be hopping on him. Extended benches, as we do, nothing too noteworthy for the South Sydney side of the ball. All right, Cowboys and the Warriors. Cowboys and the Warriors, these are two teams who they've been up and down, right? So they've both sort of been through that arc where they had that unexpected, amazing season and then have really cooled off the following year. The Cowboys had that cool-off year last year. The Warriors are having that cool-off year this year. So they're both kind of interesting. They both have inexperienced coaches who have come in with a bit of a defensive mentality, and it's worked for a while. Now, who's going to win this game is a big question. And look, it's hard to tell what's going to happen in this game because Toddy Payton has gone and named every first grader on this extended bench. So we've got Holmes, Talungi, Dearden, Robson, Nanai, Cotter, all those guys on the extended bench. So I would expect that most of those players will come into the starting side. Now, do they need to bring them in? Because last week they beat the Chooks without all of them. Maybe they don't. I think they probably will bring them in, though. So let's go through these guys one by one. So in terms of the outside backs, Talangi and Valentine Holmes, will they come in? I would say that they're a decent chance of coming in, but if they needed a rest, to be honest, Vilea, Purdue, Burns and Felt, the veterans, right? Purdue and Vilea, they're guys who did a pretty good job over the last few weeks. So I think they could theoretically just let those guys play if there are any niggling injuries or anything like that. But if there aren't any injuries and if these guys are fit after Origin, then they'll come right back in. Dearden, will he come in? Again, Clifford's a very capable backup. So for Tommy Dearden, if there's any niggling injuries, we're going to have to watch State of Origin, guys. That's honestly going to be my answer to a lot of these. If Dearden is fit, he'll play. If not, he won't, basically. For the forward pack, Ruben Cotter and Jeremiah Nanai. Now, Nanai is backed up by Finafuyaki. He had a great game last week. So, I think that there's a chance that Nanai could get a rest in this game. For Ruben Cotter, bit of a tougher one. McKaylee didn't play huge minutes, but they had the other guys on the bench step up into that role. So I think Cotter will play reduced minutes is my guess. I reckon he'll play 45 minutes in this game. That's my completely uneducated guess on it without fully sort of knowing exactly what's going to happen. Jack Wallace, should I sell Strange? Good question, Jack. So should you sell Strange? Yeah, I think you could sell Strange. I don't think he's a keeper. He plays around 16, which is pretty awesome to have in your team. But in general, I think he's sort of maxed out. Like, you look at that game last week, and he had a pretty good score, but he had 9 tackle breaks. He had no negative stats at all. And the issue is the kick meters aren't coming, right? So his base stats aren't strong enough. He requires these big running plays, and I don't know if they're going to keep coming going forward. All right, let's keep rolling through here for the Cowboys. So the bench, I'm not super interested. Last guy to mention is Reece Robson. They've got Sam McIntyre in the hooker role right now, the way it's named. My guess is that I think Reece Robson's going to play. Unless Robbo gets hurt in Origin, I can't expect him not backing up in this game. I think Robbo is going to be stepping into that 9 jersey, and I think you can trust him. If not, it's early enough in the round that you can make a trade late. So I don't mind the idea of keeping a couple of trades in your pocket and using them if Origin players don't back up. All right, now, no. Robbo is going to play. So it's 7 out, which is fine. I've got a full 17. I'll be all good. Plan was to max trade through this period, so we're all good. Now, is McKaylee a sell? Got really small minutes last week. I reckon he'll bounce back and get some minutes this week. I think he'll play more minutes than last week. But yeah, he is a sell because he's not the kind of guy that you really want to be starting, and we have a lot of cash in the bank. So if you can trade McKaylee for a genuine player like a Kaloa Matangi, for example, you're pocketing 30 points in that trade straight away, and you're also getting better buy coverage as well. McKaylee doesn't play 16 or 19, so yeah, I would sell Thomas McKaylee. I think that's an easy shout. Fafita captain, yeah, good shout. I like that. Can McIntyre even play 9? Only hypothetically, but no, I don't think he's really a number 9. I think Cotter played some 9 back in the day, but in general, they don't really have those guys. Then, yep, Mr. 16 19, yeah, you got to get rid of McIntyre 100%. Cotter or McInnes sell. I would do it depending on what Origin looks like. So who plays more minutes, who looks more beat up, do one of them get injured? Keep an eye on State of Origin. Keep an eye on the team list as well. If one of them doesn't play, then sell that one is basically my answer. In general, though, McInnes does have the buy in round 20. So he's less desirable than Cotter, personally, in my mind. Let's keep rolling through here. So for the Warriors side of the ball, we got Charles Klokstad, Dalmatini-Zelezniak, Rocco Berry, Adam Pompey, Marcelo Montoya, Chanel Harris-Tavita, and Tamari Martin. So still no Sean Johnson. Is he on the extended bench? He's not on the extended bench. Where is Sean? Where is Sean? Surely they're going to mention Sean Johnson down here. Sean Johnson remains sidelined with a pectoral injury. Okay, yeah, no SJ right now. What do we do about that? So I was kind of hoping that we'd see SJ come back this week and he'd play a good game. We could go buy him next week, but it's not looking like it's going to be that. So what we're going to see is this roster configuration. Chanel Harris-Tavita, Tamari Martin, you can't really trust either of those guys because they both instantly become terrible fantasy options when Sean Johnson comes back because he's such a dominant half. Then you go to Chance Klokstad. If you have him, stick with him, but I wouldn't go and buy him. The rest of the back line I'm not super interested in. The forward pack, Haddon Fennell-Blake, Wade Egan, Jackson Ford in the prop spot is interesting. Muradini Corey, Mitchell Barnett, and Tohu Harris. I would have thought Ford would be the locked-in edge back rower and Nick Hora or Barnett would be the guys to move to prop, but anyway. So Haddon Fennell-Blake is back. That's interesting. Tohu Harris is back, which is interesting as well. And then you got Wade Egan come back. Wade Egan's actually at a pretty cheap price. So if you did want a hooker cheap, I would rather Brandon Hands in general, but I think Wade Egan is going to become value over the next 1 or 2 weeks. But yeah, overall, I think Blake, interesting shout. He's going to get a bit cheaper next week as well, so he could be an option that we look at. Tohu Harris is carrying those injuries. I'm steering clear of Tohu myself. So yeah, I would be keeping Fennell-Blake or buying Fennell-Blake and selling my shares of Tohu Harris. For the bench, Walker, Tavanga, Ale, and Capewell. Nothing too crazy to talk about here. Capewell being on the bench is a bit weird. It probably means that we're going to see one of these edges move into the middle a bit, something like that. But overall, yeah, nothing too crazy to report on the Warriors. Blake's probably the buy. If you're going to buy one of these guys, he's the one to buy. Don't be scared off by that last game where he had a low score and all that locker room talk. I don't think it's going to be too impactful for him. All right, rolling to the next game, we got the Broncos and the Sharks. And the Sharks, fresh off a beating they caught from Parramatta, they're going to be coming in. How good is that, by the way, guys? We've got to talk about that for a sec. Parramatta back on top, exactly what we want to see. I've had a tough time with this Parramatta team recently, but hey, we're coming back in. So, and hey, don't be teasing Pat Carrigan's hairline, guys. All right, Pat Carrigan's got a mane of hair. I'm very sensitive on that topic, so. All right, so let's go into the Broncos team here. We got Reece Walsh, Corey Oates, Katoni Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo, Dean Mariner. We run to the halves. We've got Ezra Mam and Jock Madden. It's a pretty strong backline for the Broncos. They've named it as though everyone's going to back up. So we've got Selwyn Cobbo who's coming off the bench in Origin. Reece Walsh is starting in Origin. Do I think they're both going to back up? I would expect that Cobbo is going to back up, but as Connor mentions here, actually, we don't see Walsh backing up. I'm exactly the same as you, Connor. I think Walsh will have a big game in Origin. He's a big game player. He'll put it all out in the line there. He's been carrying a lot of injuries over the last month of footy, though. So I could easily see him just being rested for this game. The Broncos are doing well already. The Broncos made the grand final last year too. They've got their eyes on that big prize. So I think Walsh will get a rest, is my prediction as well. Could easily go out and play. I could easily be wrong about this. It's just my guess, but I don't have any inside information on Reece Walsh. For the rest of the back line, would I buy any of these guys? The Broncos don't have a crazy good buy schedule, so I'm not really rushing any of these guys in. For the forward pack, you got Corey Jensen, Billy Walters, Payne Haas, Pia Kura, Ricky, and Paddy Carrigan. We've got Smoothie, Willison, Hetherington, and Guzevsky on the bench. It's a tough one, right? Because as a Pat Carrigan and myself, and a lot of you guys have Payne Haas as well, the question is going to be, do they back up from Origin? How confident are we that they back up from Origin? One thing that counts against them a bit here is this is a pretty strong bench. So these are guys who can play some minutes and play some good footy. But then you've also got guys like Fletcher Baker, who he can play big minutes. He can walk into the team and play huge minutes. You've got Mike Powell as well, who he's a bit of an older guy, but he's been trusted in the past. We've got Jaden Hunt in the team too. He's a guy who's filled in on the edge before as well. So overall, I think there is a risk that we could see either of these guys, Carrigan or Haas, not backing up. My theory on this is that Haas is less likely to back up than Carrigan. And what I'm thinking here is that Payne Haas has carried a few injuries through this year. He could easily be rested as a precaution, whereas Paddy Carrigan has looked really healthy, but he has played big minutes so far. So my assumption is that they're probably going to both back up, and they're probably going to play smaller minutes than expected, maybe sort of 40 minutes for Payne Haas, 45, 50 minutes for Carrigan. But at the same time, it could be anything, right? We need to watch that game. We need to watch if they pick up any injuries. That's going to be the big thing, and that's going to be deciding it. If one of them backs up and one of them doesn't, then it's actually good news for the one who does back up, because let's say Haas is out, for example, that means Carrigan's going to play 60 minutes, pretty much guaranteed. So, yeah, I think overall it's going to be probably Carrigan 50 minutes, Haas 40 minutes is my guess. A few questions coming through here. How much will Carrigan get, though? Minutes-wise, I'm going to get about 45 to 50 minutes. I think Saylor is still injured, though, so they might want to rush him back. Walsh is the prize for the Broncos at fullback, so Saylor will just have to sort of make it work. Trade McKaylee to Bryce Cartwright. Pod moves, we love it. Juicy, juicy trade. And then you captain Salmon. Oh, mate, that's brutal. Yeah, just I would just try not to do that again. Try to get Fafita or Latrell or something like that, or captain a middle forward, or Max King, Jack DeBellin, one of these guys. Is Pia Kura a sell? Heard him for the last few weeks, but thinking of selling this week for sure. I think because we have so much cash in the bank, and because Nico Hines is out, we're trading a lot of these players out. I personally would consider selling Pia Kura if I was you, only if you're not short on players this week. So if you're short on players this week, you gotta do what you gotta do. But if you are flush with green dots, then you could sell Pia Kura for sure. You saw that spare cash you got, get a big gun. Same for you, Peter. Get a big gun instead. Pia Kura he's rough, man. He's been scoring like 35 points with tries, not been getting 80 minutes every week. I think you could sell him off. You traded Walsh to Teddy because of my vid last week. That is rough, man. That's no good. I sold Walsh as well last week, and I captained Teddy too. So didn't buy him last week. I've had Teddy all year, but yeah, that's a tough one. Look, Dylan Edwards has been reliable all year. There was no talk of injuries, anything like that. Him getting injured at training and Tedesco getting pulled into the roster too late for us to reverse trades is just bad luck, and it happens in fantasy, guys. Like, that's going to happen again and again and again. If you play fantasy for years, you're going to have that happen to you all the time. It's just bad luck. So we're in the same boat there, my friend. And then, yep, did the same thing. Almost traded Drinkwater, though. Oh, glad you kept Drinkwater because that's the play. You captain Drinkwater for 11 and 12, and then, oh, no, that's brutal. That's brutal because he fired off. Got to stick your faith in the guns, right? Had Teddy captain Manu Vice. Manu wasn't that great in that game. He nearly had that barge over try, which would have gotten him a big score, but overall it wasn't a great game for Joey Manu. Is Teddy a sell? Now, if you bought him in the last round, that's tough. That's really tough. I think he could be sold. It depends. If he plays badly in Origin, then don't sell him. But if he plays well in Origin, he might keep that spot. You probably want to sell him. May, yep, Terrell May absolutely feasted. He was one of the top 5 scorers last week. Just absolutely huge. And yeah, Teddy, 16, 19, and 20. It's a tough one. All right, let's go into the Sharkies side of the ball. So for the Sharks, we got Kennedy, Katoa, Ramian, Iro, Mulatalo, Atkinson, and Trindle coming in. For these guys, look, Atkinson is just producing, man. He just keeps on going. He has no Hines this week. You can see there's no Hines on the bench. There's no Hines on the extended bench. So Nico Hines is straight up not playing this week. There is no doubt about it. Would I sell Hines this week if I still had him? I sold him last week because I was pretty confident that he wasn't going to back up efficiently. But would I sell him if I had him this week? That's a tricky one. Would I sell Hines if I had him this week? I would probably be selling Nico Hines still. So he won't play this week. If he keeps the Origin spot, he won't play round 16. round 19 or round 20 as well. At the same time, though, if you watch Origin and he plays really poorly, then hey, go ahead and keep him. Because if he looks like he's going to get dropped, and if Moses is looking good again, for example, then he might not play Origin long term. So that's going to be the big thing with him. If Hines keeps playing Origin, then he's a sell. If Hines gets dropped from Origin, then he's a great option to have in your team. For the rest of the back line here, look, Ramey and Iro is a hold. He's been rock solid. I'm not super worried about him. Kennedy had a good score, but he's so inconsistent for fantasy. Hazelton, Brayley, Kafusi, Nakora, Talakai, and McInnes. This is pretty crazy, this forward pack. Okay, Hazelton, pretty unreliable. Just doesn't really get the consistent minutes to be a good fantasy scorer at the prop spot. Britton Nakora, if you have him, hold him, I would say. I think he should be good enough in this game. So I would hold Nakora myself. Talakai is pretty crazy. If you are looking at him in a draft league, for example, that could be a good shout. There is some risk on the bench, though. Jack Williams could come onto the edge spot as well. So overall, Talakai probably doesn't play 80 minutes, but could be a good scorer this week for a draft league. Wouldn't be buying him in a regular league. Obviously, we've got Teague Wilton out with a shoulder issue. It sounds like it's pretty minor, I think. But yeah, and also a nice little warning here. Thank you, Mai. So you've got every week you trade someone in, they get injured. So stay away from Kalamatangi. That's a warning. That's a warning, and we're going to take it. I'm going to stay away from Kalamatangi on the back of that. Okay, is Hines a sell if you have 8 trades? Watch Origin, man. Watch Origin. If Hines is going to be staying in Origin, he plays well, then yeah, sell. If he plays really poorly, looks like he's going to get dropped, then you could hold on to him. Sold Hines last week. Was thinking about getting Cleary instead of Hines around 1920 due to Hines' high break even of 110. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how Cleary comes back. Cleary's been a bit dodgy this year, but overall, they're probably equal fantasy scorers. Cleary is probably slightly better in my mind if Trindle is playing. That's the big thing. So when Trindle plays next to Hines, he's a slightly lower scorer, which makes Cleary slightly better. But overall, I'm not worrying about those guys too much until after the Origin period. So yeah, steering clear. Is Wally Lewis a buy this week? Tough one. I reckon he's sort of maxed out in terms of his price, so I don't think you need to hop on him. Can we just say Weeks has been amazing for the Raiders compared to Manly? Yeah, he's been unstoppable. KO Weeks, he's been really good, super dynamic, doing a ton of kicking. He's been red hot. Then Longy, thanks, man. Been watching for a long time and finally get a chance to watch live. Appreciate it. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. It's a good time. It's always fun. I just love fantasy as well, so it's always cool to hang out with you guys. Then, yeah, let's go back into the Sharks here because, yeah, I think Nakora is a hold. I think if you have McInnes is pretty dodgy, so let's watch him play Origin. But if he plays this week, it's not too bad. You can hold on to him for a while. But he's pretty much guaranteed to miss round 16, round 19, and round 20. There is obviously Cam Murray coming back soon. Cam Murray can come back on the edge, though, as well. He could replace a Hudson Young type, for example. But he could also pose a threat to Cam McInnes. So I would keep an eye on that situation. If Cam McInnes dominates, then probably sell him. If he plays poorly and he looks like he's going to get dropped, then you could maybe hold on to him instead. Rest of the bench, I'm not super interested at all in this. So I'm going to roll into the next team. All right, Sunday game, 2 p.m. We got the Storm and the Knights. We got Faulongo, Grant Anderson, Remus Smith, Meaney, Coates. Then we got Wishart and Hughes. Okay, this raises a few players here, and so every now and then I'll look at an option and I'll think, I should just keep that one for myself. I should go and buy that guy and just not talk to anyone about it and have a super pod. But then I think you guys deserve better. You deserve better. You deserve to know it all. Jerome Hughes is such a good fantasy option right now. So Hughes, and yeah, here we go. Aussie Frost King thinking the same thing. Hughes is a great option. So when Hughes plays without Cam Munster, here we go. Look, hit me with the stats. 61 average without Cam Munster. Exactly right. He is a dominant force when he plays without Munster. He'll be that dominant half in this team. Wishart will take the secondary role. So for Hughes, if you want to get on Hughes, he's a Kiwi. He's not going to play Origin. Still on a pretty good buy schedule. I love the idea of buying Jerome Hughes right now. I'm going to try and work it for my team. It might not work necessarily for my roster, but I'll try to make it work if I can. So if I have any late outs, I've got a spare trade there, and I'm going to go buy Jerome Hughes. But for now, I'm sitting on that trade. So yeah, he's a rock solid option here. Sorry, Peter. You can't let them know. Sorry, mate. We let everyone know. But look, there are a lot of options to talk about this week, so you can't get all of them. He's just one of them. Let's keep going here too. So here we go, Joseph Gillespie. I've seen your name up the ranking board heaps, man. 5th to 3rd place. Yeah, get more active. Shoot me a DM or jump on Discord. Drop the Discord link in there. But if you guys go look at the ranking board on the fantasy app, Joseph Gillespie is one of the names that's been up there in the top 10 for quite a while now. So congrats, man, on a great season. You're absolutely killing it. Great shout. I'd love to talk to you about your team as well. Let's keep rolling in here. So, yeah, for the Storm, the rest of it, if you got Fa'alongo, you can stick with him for a little bit longer. He's not too bad. He's a guy who he'll play until Pappenhausen's back. So he's solid enough. The rest of the backline, I'm not that interested in. Would I go and buy Wishart right now? I think he's a bit expensive, and I think next to Jerome Hughes is that dominant half as well. For the forward pack, we got Welch, Harry Grant, Kamika Mika, Blore, Katoa, and King. And Jack Wallace threw in the question before, would you captain Eli Katoa? In this matchup, probably not. He could go well. He scored tries in the last 3 games in a row, but overall, I probably wouldn't be captaining Eli Katoa. It's a tough gamble to take because he's been scoring in the 60s with those tries. I'd rather someone like a Dave Fafita, or you could take a safer option like Jack DeBellin early in the round or someone like that as well. But yeah, Eli Katoa, it's a bit risky. Do it if you want to do it. If your heart says Captain Katoa, then go on Captain Katoa, but I think it's pretty risky. For the rest of the pack here, Sean Blore, do we hold him? I think Blore is solid enough. This bench, so yeah, Loero, Sofa Solomon, Alec McDonald, and Garlic. I don't think there's a lot of risk that Blore will play less minutes. I think he'll play about 70 to 75 minutes, as he always does. He's solid enough in that role. The issue is that he doesn't have Cam Munster feeding him the ball. So it's a tough one with Blore. I'm going to be holding on to Sean Blore. I've got other problems I need to deal with, and I think a back rower who plays 70 minutes every week should be okay. But if he continues to struggle, then we'll look at that again in future weeks. For the rest of the team here, so yeah, I'm not super interested in anyone else for the Storm. So for Solomona, if he got cheap enough, would be interesting, and he's getting very cheap right now, but he doesn't look like he's going to bounce back to big minutes as he has in previous seasons, so probably going to steer clear on that one. For the Knights, it's good to see David Armstrong keeps his spot in the team. He had a tough game last week. He's had a couple of tough games in the wet. He's been awesome in the dry, so I think Armstrong's going to be okay. I would stick with him for a bit longer. We've got Tuala, Gagai, Mapalangi, and Marzu, and then we've got Cogger and Hastings in the halves. So yeah, going through it, Armstrong, I think he's a solid enough hold. The Storm are not a great matchup for him, though. If you do want to make a move and sell Armstrong, I don't hate that. If you want to bench Armstrong and you have other options, I think that's not a bad move at all. I think he's a really interesting one in terms of he's got the big upside in the easier matchups, but he might struggle a bit more in these tougher matchups. If I was going to predict Armstrong's score in this game, I would say sort of low 30s. I think he's going to score about 33. That's my guess there. I think the Storm will be tight, but I think he'll have a couple of plays where he sort of breaks off a few tackle busts. For the rest of the team, if you want a guy like Gagai, he keeps producing 50-point games. He's pretty solid. Marzu scored 35 last week without tries, but I'm not that inspired right now. I wouldn't be doing it now. Cogger Hastings, Safidi, Brayley, Thompson, Pierce Paul, Lucas Elliott. Okay, so we got Tyson Frizzell in the 16 jersey. He keeps on playing in the middle, keeps on playing prop. I can't imagine that Frizzell plays prop forever. Like there's no way. There's no way that happens. So at some point, I think this is going to have to come and burn Lucas and Pierce Paul. If that's anytime soon, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think it will eventually sort of start to eat into the minutes of one of these guys. If you have Pierce Paul, though, and you have Dylan Lucas, stick with him. Pierce Paul especially has been really solid. And then, yeah, Lucas has big attacking upside more than anything as well. For the front row, yeah, Leo Thompson, Safidi, not that interested. Jaden Brayley, he hasn't been getting the full 80 minutes because of Phoenix Crossland on the bench. But at the same time, he's been solid enough too, so you stick with him for a bit longer. Adam Elliott, I wouldn't go and buy Adam Elliott. A few people have asked me about that, but I would hold on to him if I still had him. Yeah, he is a weird scorer, Jim. Completely agree. He's pretty dodgy. And then for the bench, you got Crossland, Safidi, Frizzell, Jones. Yeah, this Newcastle team is pretty messy. So when you have guys like Frizzell coming off the bench into the middle spot, it means that we're going to have Crossland sort of forced out of the lock role a bit more and into the hooker role, which affects Jaden Braley. Like overall, I think just stick with it on these guys. I wouldn't be going out to buy any of these guys, but I wouldn't be selling many of them either. So for the Knights, it's a case of just stay where you are, sit down and wait for help to find you kind of thing. All right, Panthers and the Sea Eagles. And this is a frustrating one. So I'm going to jump right across to Manly first because what's going on? What's going on? So Lehigh Hopewadi keeps the fullback spot. Tolata Kola goes to center. I don't know if that's going to be the way they play on the weekend. But bloody hell, that is so frustrating. That is, as a Kola believer, he is so good when he plays at fullback. So good when he plays at fullback and just so average at center for fantasy. So, yeah. Sorry, before we go into him, we all want to know if Katoa is a buy. Eli Katoa he's priced at what he's worth. He's good. He's a good player. He's a good player. I would rather go get Fafita myself, but Katoa is a good shout. If you want to go get Katoa, go do that as well. Good move. But yeah, on Kola, let me complain about Kola a bit here, guys, because he's such a beast at fullback and he's gone to center. Is there anyone on the extended bench that could move in? So firstly, Ben Trebojevic could theoretically move to center. Kola could go to fullback. We could see Jackson Polo come in potentially. Simpkins around for the hooker spot as well. He signed with Manly recently. I reckon they're probably going to line up as they've named it, though. That's the issue. So I think we're going to see a situation where Kola comes back at center. Hopefully it's a 1 week thing. So he comes back at center this week and then moves to fullback next week, just with the AC joint, right? So with an AC joint issue, it's very much a pain tolerance thing. I've been told by much better athletes than I am. So Kola might be coming back with that being a bit painful and then moving to fullback next week, theoretically. The rest of the back line here, if you've got Ruben Garrick, stick with him. I wouldn't go and buy him right now. Tommy Talau on top. Isn't he good? Yeah, this is a bit of a weird one. Yeah, Talau, good in the centers. Polo on the wing, Kola at fullback. Yeah, I wish Kola was at fullback, man. But yeah, Tommy Talau, the GOAT. If you captain Tommy Talau, send me a screenshot because he's the man. For Brooks, DCE, look, Brooks could be an interesting shout for you if you wanted a real cheap half. He's a guy who could potentially go on a run. Overall, though, I probably wouldn't do it. Manly's buys are pretty good, though. Like, not good for DCE, but good for non-origin players. But Paseka, Lawton, Aloye, Olakuatu, Ben Trebojevic, Jake Trebojevic, I'm not interested in any of this for fantasy at all. I'm not interested in the bench at all. I think the one guy to note down here is Jake Simpkin in 23 jersey. Just signed with Manly. He could be a guy who comes in. Obviously, Lachlan Croker's been out for a while. Simpkin, if he comes in and gets a big minute hooker role, which he's super capable of doing, he could easily be a 50-point average straight away. So, yeah, good shout for him. We'll go back to Penrith now as well. So I just want to talk about Kola first because I was pretty mad about that. All right, so Penrith side of the ball, we got Laurie, Taruva, Tungo, Alamotti, To. We got Cole and Luai. Okay, so first thing to call here is that Cole keeps his spot over Schneider. Interesting. Very interesting. People weren't expecting that. Cole's been pretty good, though, and it allows Luai to play a bit more of that dominant half role, so I don't mind that at all. If you got Cole, stick with him. Enjoy that ride, but eventually you're going to have to sell pretty soon. I would say you're probably selling Cole in just before round 16 would be the timing I would expect. So enjoy this next 2 weeks. Is Cole a buy? Absolutely not. No, don't be buying Cole. It's too late to jump on him. For the rest of the back line here, Tungo and Alamotti are really cheap, man. They're really cheap. Tungo is actually getting cheaper and cheaper as well. But what is Tungo's price, guys? Because I'm pretty sure he's down at like 505,000 or something like that. Like, it's something crazy. So for Tungo, you keep an eye on him. I think he's an interesting shout for round 17. Like, if you want to look at Isaac Tungo around 17 after their round 16 bye, he'll only have the round 19 bye to go. Yeah, wow, 498K for Isaac Tungo. So thank you, guys. Very helpful. 498K for Isaac Tungo. Yeah, that's crazy cheap. He is 200K undervalued right now when Cleary comes back. So at some point, we got to be looking at him and going, all right, let's find a way to get Tungo. Right now, my team doesn't need the centers, so I'm happy to sit on it a bit longer. But at some point soon, I'll be looking at Tungo. Strange Tungo in 17 is actually a great trade. That's a really good trade. If you can afford to keep Strange for the next 3 weeks and you can cop this buy round this week, then yeah, that's great timing. For the forward pack, we got Leota, Kenny, Fisher-Harris, Sorensen, Martin, and Yo. It is too late on basically everyone here. So Fisher-Harris had a big game last week, filled in. Obviously, we had no Liam Martin. We had no Isaiah Yo. He played huge minutes. He had a big game. It won't happen again like that. It definitely won't happen again this week unless guys don't back up. But the problem is you've got this bench now that has Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry, and Luke Garner on it. So all those guys can eat some minutes. So yeah, too late for him. Scott Sorensen, he was good last week. He was back to his normal self. He's a 52.5 average when he starts in the back row at Penrith last year, and he scored 52 this week. So it was exactly what we called. Would I buy him right now? I think Luke Garner on the bench is a little bit terrifying. And I think, yeah, you got to keep an eye on that. So I wouldn't be going and buying Sorensen right now. I also think that they have buys in round 16 and round 19. So that's the tough thing there. Joseph Gillespie, fantasy royalty, number 3 rank in the Discord. Love it, mate. I'll chat to you there after this as well. But yeah, guys, jump on the Discord if you want to chat to the man in number 3 who could potentially win it all this year. It's an exciting spot to be, man. All right, we'll keep rolling through here. So if you've got Liam Henry, enjoy the price rises. Don't go and buy Liam Henry. Basically, it's don't buy any of these guys, really. The centers are interesting, Tungo and Alamotti, but the rest of it I wouldn't be touching with a 10-foot pole. If you got them, hold them, but don't go and buy them. That's the big thing. And yeah, if you guys want to jump on, the Discord's just here as well. So I just pop that up. For the Manly side of the ball, we talked about them. There's not really anyone that you'd be going and buying right now, to be honest. Let's see how Origin goes, but yeah, I wouldn't be hopping any of these guys either. All right, and then Doggies and the Eels on Monday at 4 p.m. So this is always a cracker of a game. Last few years, Parramatta have been on top and the Dogs have been struggling. This year, it is the opposite. Dogs are absolutely flying. And look, as a Para fan, obviously we hate the Dogs, but I am loving seeing what they're doing. So they've sort of gone from being a team that was really struggling for a long time to a team who is now sort of coming up and going, all right, hey, we got something to play for. They're playing with a lot of pride. They're playing with a lot of toughness. They're playing very fun attacking footy. They're running up scores on teams as well. It's really cool to see the Dogs rebuild going well. So bravo, Doggies fans. For the Dogs side here, we got Connor Tracy, Karaz, Zeri, Crichton, Wilson, Burton, and Sexton. So it's good to see that Toby Sexton finally gets that half spot. We've been waiting for that for a while. That's a great piece of news for him. It might not be the best news for Burton in terms of fantasy because Sexton is a bit more of a dominant half, does a lot more kicking, does a lot more playmaking than Hutcho. So that could be more of a balanced halves pairing that isn't the best for fantasy. For the rest of the back line here, you've got Karaz. Cool. Great. Enjoy that ride. Don't worry too much about the low score last week and don't overreact to the big score the week before. Karaz is a roller coaster, but the average will balance out around 50 points, so don't have to worry about that too much. Rest of the back line I'm not super interested in. The forward pack, we got King, Marnie, Sam Hughes, Preston, Salmon, and Kurt Mann. And man, did Sam Hughes let some of you guys down last week. That's a rough one. That's a really rough one. If you still have him, I'd sell him. If you need the player this week, okay, cool. But if you don't need to play this week, then sell Sam Hughes if you can. And yeah, exactly right, Jahu. I love Karaz. That's the problem, man, because he's such a unit, like such a beast. He plays fantasy style footy. So for him, yeah, I'm not an owner, but I'm more saying like you can't overreact, right? Because these guys will have big and small scores. For the rest of the team, Reed Marnie, he had a quieter game last week, but there was a few missed tackles in there. I think it was about 7 missed tackles to go with his 2 try assists, so it was a lower score. We got King came in with less minutes. I think it was 47 minutes, 47 points in 48 minutes, something like that. Question here from Jack Wallace is Brandon Hands a must? I think that you pretty much have to get Brandon Hands, yeah. The hooker and half coverage is awesome. And Parramatta have good enough buys. So, yeah, Brandon Hands, pretty much a must-have. I would definitely get him in. Is Hughes or McKaylee a bigger sell? Hughes is probably the biggest sell. Actually, no, I take that back. McKaylee is the biggest sell because Hughes will play round 16. So at least that gives you some upside. Whereas McKaylee won't play round 16. So, yep, stick with that. Is Hands a great cover for Marnie? I wouldn't sell Marnie to Hands, but Hands is a pretty good second option to Marnie. I think the buys work out pretty well from memory. So you should be sweet. Para won this week. Open the floodgates. Talk about how good Para is quickly before it goes downhill again. Yeah, so let's go into the Parramatta side. The future premiership winners of 2024. We got Big Bad Clint Gutherson, Micah Sevo back in form. Will Penasini, Blaze Talangi comes in for Simonson. We've got Sean Russell going back to the wing. We have Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses. And this is a super, super potent backline. So, yeah, very, very potent. You've got Gutho, Brown, and Moses, who are all very good spine players. Micah Sevo. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say it again because I was saying it on the drinks at Bergs' birthday on the weekend. I'm going to say it again. And you guys, comment, agree or disagree on this. I want you to leave a comment, agree or disagree in the chat. Micah Sevo is underrated. I'm going to make a case. He's underrated. Tell me if you agree or disagree. But I dead set reckon that he is so underrated right now. Everyone's off him. Everyone thinks he should be dropped. Everyone's talking about him being rubbish. I think he's exactly who he has been for a long time. So Micah Sevo is a great finisher. He's got some holes in his game, but he's not the problem in this Parramatta backline. So I think he's underrated now. I think he might have been overrated a couple of years ago, but I think he's still the same player as he was then, and the opinions go down so much on him. I'm seeing a lot of agrees in here, and I'm going to ignore all the disagrees. So, yeah, I'm gonna take that as a 60-40 vote in favor of agree. I'm probably lying a little bit there. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of disagrees coming through. We'll take a proper poll on it later. Actually, we'll put it up on Discord as well. So we'll put the poll up on Discord. Jahu, you got to love Sevo, mate. He's a great finisher. Para fans win one game and delusional. Damn right. Look, you got to understand, man, that I turned 30 this year and I haven't seen a Parramatta premiership. So I've got to be a bit delusional to stick with this team, man. I've got to be a bit delulu. And I just like him. Yeah, he's got a good hairdo. I will give you that. Great beard, bald combo. I do like that a lot. All right, so let's go into the Parramatta side, though. So other than Micah Sevo being underrated, we'll go... Thanks, Peter. We'll go through the rest of the team here. So, look, Gutho, Sevo. Penasini is an interesting option. Parramatta's buy schedule isn't necessarily good enough for you to justify this move, but Penasini is at a pretty cut price, and with Moses and Cartwright in particular coming back, I think he'll go back to being in some good form. The Doggies aren't the best matchup, though. So, obviously, you've got Stephen Crichton, I think he's up against in this game, which is a tough matchup. So Critter rock solid. If Critter doesn't play, or Critter gets injured or something like that, then maybe he'll step up. Yeah, I wouldn't get Penasini, but at the same time, I think he's undervalued. So yeah, you go look at him. Blaze Talangi, if you've got him, hold on to him. I wouldn't go and buy Blaze, but if you do have him, hold on to him. I think we might see a bit of switching between him and Gutho. So Blaze might slip into fullback and attack sometimes. We'll see what happens there. Gutho will definitely be the defensive and under high ball fullback, though. For Dylan Brown, Mitch Moses, if you want to get a pod, Mitch Moses is kind of interesting. If the Blues win in game one, then Mitch Moses is a good option. If the Blues lose game one, then Mitch Moses is a very good chance of being picked for game two. So just keep that in mind. I would probably be erring on the side of caution there. If you're going to get Moses, last week is probably the week. But if you do want to do it, I probably prefer Jerome Hughes. I think it's a bit safer. And I think without Munster, he'll be just as good a scorer. Maybe about equal there. And here we go. Yeah, so Penasini is up against Zeri. All right, cool. So it's an easier matchup. I still think he's probably not worth jumping on because we have so many centers, but could be a good shout for you. Should I trade Talangi for Hands? No. Keep Talangi. Try to find a way to get Hands, but don't sell a green dot is my advice there with so few trades. Forward pack, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Brenton Hands, Junior Paulo, Kelma Talangi, Bryce Cartwright, Jermaine Hopgood. So very similar forward pack to last week. We've got to have a look at a few things here. So options that we would be talking about this week. First one, Brandon Hands. He is in the 9 role. We've got no Lussick on the bench. We have a wild Lussick on the extended bench. Okay, this is the last game of the round. So theoretically, Lussick could come in and ruin all our plans. Throwing that out there. Next one here, we got Kelma Tuolangi. Starting here, he's a guy people are looking at. He's in the low 300s. He's probably pretty safe with Sean Lane. So Sean Lane has been playing the middle role. They're pretty happy with that. But for the extended bench, Madison in the 21 jersey is a bit worrying to me. So Maddo's got some concussion issues, which is tough. But for Ryan Madison, if he comes into the team and Sean Lane is playing middle, Offa Hangawi is playing middle, Hopgood's back, there's a world where he plays some edge or even dislodges Kelma Tuolangi. So just keep that in mind. Kelma's role is not completely secure. If you need a back row, Kelma's a good shout. But if you don't need a back row, I wouldn't force it with Kelma in this team. He's a good scorer, but he's not necessarily going to be locked in for that role long term. With questions about Hopgood, did I see some Hopgood questions? Hopgood to back up. Yeah, I think Hopgood will back up. So this game is on Monday and Origin's on the Wednesday, the week before. So it's like a 5-day turnaround, right? So I think that's pretty regular. Unless he gets hurt, he'll back up. He'll almost certainly back up. I would say pretty much certainly he'll back up. Picker to hands is a great move. You get an upgrade in points and in money as well. So yeah, great option there too. You gain 8 trades from round 20, exactly right. So in round 20, you get 8 more trades. So your current trades only have to last you to round 20. That is a long time in Origin and buy season though. So just try to save as many trades as you can. Theoretically, Hopgood should back up. Yes, exactly right. Sell Gagai for hands. That's Jacob Gagai, just to specify. Yes, also Mr. Donut King. Where are the donuts? Got to bring the donuts if you're going to come to this, man. Dylan Brown for Jerome Hughes. I think it's a bit sideways. Dylan Brown's fine. I think you can make another trade there instead. So try to keep Dylan Brown and try to get Jerome Hughes from someone else. Thoughts on Preston? It's a bit late. I think it's too late. I would skip this one personally. Dylan Brown or Jerome Hughes. If you're just buying one of them, Jerome Hughes for sure. Brown or Moses. Probably Moses, I would say, but Brown is safe enough. I think Moses is probably the guy. He's got the higher upside. Thoughts on Preston? Too late. Check the polls channel. Yeah, so guys, on Discord, there's a polls channel. We've got a poll up there. Let's check it out. Where are we here? We're basically in the Q&A section. Send your questions as well right now. I'll try to answer some of those questions too. Okay, is Mike Acevo underrated? I'm going to say yes. I agree with Longy. And votes, and I'm down 2-3. Okay, I'm down 40. 50-50. All right, cool. 8. 50-50 still. All right, we'll come back to that poll. But yeah, get your votes in there on Discord. It's a good spot. Great community. It's good chat. The live game channels in Discord are actually the best part, I reckon, because we just all rage about fantasy players. Just overreact to everything, especially the Lord Goat himself. Okay, so let's go through some more of these questions. All right, 13 or 17 players. 17 players this week. Your bench counts as well. Hughes and Strange to Hands and Fafita. Perfect trades. These are awesome. Would you rather Peter V'landys or Andrew Abdo? I think V'landys doing a good job, so I'm gonna shoot at V'landys. Then sell him Sam Hughes. Yep, I'd do that. McKaylee to Hands or Tuolangi? I wouldn't worry too much about round 19 yet. I'd go McKaylee to Hands. I think he's got better job security. Then Brandon Nakora, maybe problems. Yeah, I'd keep Brandon Nakora. I think they're fine. Nico to Hughes, Moses, or wait a week for Johnson. I'd probably go Hughes. I think Hughes is the shout. That's Jerome Hughes, by the way, guys. Then I'll speed myself up a bit here. Hughes, Cleary, and Gus Crichton for Finu, Hughes, and Fafita. You still have Cleary. How long is Cleary out for? I would almost be thinking about holding Cleary at this point. Like, you can't. It's obviously too late. But yeah, these trades are fine. They're fine. They would have been better last week. Like similar trades. When do you get rid of Brown? Dylan Brown? I'd keep Dylan Brown for a while. He's a pseudo keeper. He's pretty solid through this period. Feeder a must-have. Definitely not a must-have, but a good option. Brown was on like 25 before his try. Yeah, that was a one-off bad game. Everyone has those games. Dylan Brown's going to have those games. I think he'll be solid going forward. Is Salmon a hold? No, I would sell Salmon so fast. You know what? Sorry, I'm a bit biased because I sold Salmon very early. He will probably keep getting that big minute roll, but I just reckon he's a bit of a plotter. And if you can get someone better for him, then you should go do it. If New South Wales lose, Moses could be in game 2 or 3. Exactly right. That is the risk. So watch Origin tomorrow night, and you gotta be in it. Actually, guys, while we're here as well, for Origin, what's everyone up to for Origin? Drop your comments in there for what you're doing in Origin, because I'd love to sort of hear from you guys there. Who's got the best plans for Origin? So I'm going to be down at the game. I've got a bit of a box situation going on. So the guys at Saligo actually are the ones who are setting that up. Anyone else getting down to the game as well? Let's see who we got. Oh, it's so delayed. I'll keep answering some questions here. Salmon, hold. Meh. Oh, no. Oliver, Mum's making you go to bed early. That sucks, mate. That sucks. Hands, a buy for sure. Yeah, I think hands is a rock solid option. Yes, going to the game. Awesome. Actually, guys, while we're here, I want you guys to try something out. So I've been involved with TBC Live a bit lately. Super fun game. I'll just chuck it up here. I'll put it in the chat as well. Go to that link, download the game. It's a live game, so it's kind of like fantasy, but it's a bit different. So basically what you do is you log in, you make predictions on what's going to happen in the game. So if you're watching Origin and you're thinking, you know what, I reckon James Tedesco is going to break this game open. He's going to score a try in the next 5 minutes. You can make that prediction, and people will vote for or against that. And based on the popularity of your prediction, you'll get more points for a crazier prediction. So those guys are giving away a free State of Origin jersey tomorrow night to someone who puts in a really bold prediction. So make sure you download the app. The link's in the chat here, and you can potentially win a free State of Origin jersey. So check it out. Let me know. I've got the link in the description to the video as well. It's called TBC Live. Absolutely a great time. I'll hit some of these other questions here too, but let me know if you have any questions on all that. So me, I'm going to go, sure, as a Manly fan. Nice. Awesome. Love it. Sitting at home in my jacks and a couple of beers yelling at TV. That is the way to do it. Honestly, it's so cold. I don't mind that. Will you still do buy, hold, sell? Yeah, absolutely. So I record buy, hold, sell tonight, and it goes live 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So that'll be up as usual. Just keep in mind that Origin players and all that sort of stuff, I'll make an update video probably after. Maybe on Instagram. If you're such a casual athlete on Instagram or TikTok, that's probably where I'll post some updates after the Origin games with updates on players getting injured, rested, whatever it is there. Should I get Aitken? No, because he's got a bye this week. I downloaded it. I could make some guides on it, actually. So you want to go into the prediction section. You can make predictions on next try score, that sort of stuff. Maybe I'll make some videos, Oxy. I'll make some videos on how to play TBC, because once you get it, it's super easy. But before that, it can be a little bit intimidating. Thoughts on Hughes, Strange, and Lukey to Fafita, Hands, and Jerome Hughes? I think these are upgrades. These are definitely upgrades. I like all of those. A lot of cash in the bank, so that's rock solid. There's the link again, guys. I'll just pop that in. So yeah, check out TBC. It is good time. If you score well enough on TBC and send me a screenshot, so let's say 300 plus, then you can be on Pimp My Team as well. So just keep that in mind. Send me a screenshot, and I'll get you into Pimp My Team. Sell Brandon Smith. Yeah, I'd be selling Brandon Smith. He's been absolutely rubbish, but he's so cheap. So at this point, you can almost hold him. But I think he's probably a sell. We've got best captain options: Vanilla Blake, Grant, KPP, Drinky. I'd probably go with Vanilla Blake. That's probably the safest option there. You could take a look at Drinky, but I think Vanilla Blake is a good shout. Oh, Geography Greg. Good to see you again, mate. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to win that jersey. Oh, yeah? You're going to win that jersey? What prediction are you going to go with, mate? Do you think Drinky has done enough to be named captain this week? I think it's pretty risky, but he has a lot of upside, so up to you. Should I sell Hughes or McKaylee for Tokamanu? I'd be selling McKaylee first, 100%. First year playing, is it worth upgrading the fantasy app to get coach? It's got some extra stats in there for you. I would probably just use... So I don't it's good. It's good for break evens and that kind of thing. But I mostly use this. So I'll put the link in, footystatistics.com. Basically, it lets you look at guys, and like you could look at, say, Nico Hines, for example, and based on him, you can see things like all of his scores here, but you can also see, all right, what about when he plays with Trindle? So he plays with Trindle, you got an average of 68 points. When he plays without Trindle, we have an average of 52 points. But then if we go by position, halfback only, that average is actually 74 points, right? So you can see all the different stats there. It's footystatistics.com. I'll just pop that link in the description for you guys as well. But that's a good one to jump onto. All right, Keon Kalamatangi in the second row is completely underrated beside White, and he hasn't had a good half giving him the ball all year. That's actually a great point. So I hadn't really considered that too much. If Kalamatangi, and I mentioned it when we were looking at him, he is the kind of guy who relies on some big attacking plays and being fed good ball. Next to Jack Whiten, compared to Ilias or Hawkins or one of these guys, could theoretically get more good ball, score more tries, be more effective. That actually does boost him up a little bit, maybe a couple of points in terms of his fantasy average. Cotter a sell, depends if he rests or not. If he's playing, I would probably hold on to him, but I actually sold him last week, just thinking he might get a rest this week. So I'm open to it. Kotrick to Hands, Cotter to Fafita. Good trades, very good trades. Thoughts on Gus Crichton? I might sell him for Fafita. I like that trade a lot. Strange and Gus to Fafita and Moses. Yep, good trades. If they're guys that I'm saying to sell and guys I'm saying to buy, they're usually going to be good trades, guys. Do you think that Drink is done enough to captain? No, maybe. Up to you. Would you buy if you had to choose between Latrell or Hughes? Depends what position you need. Honestly, it depends what position you need. If you need the wing fullback spot, then Latrell. But I think Hughes is actually the better option going forward. So I'm leaning towards Hughes myself out of that too. But my team needs a wing fullback, so I might go Latrell instead. Jerome Hughes, buy. Yes, absolutely. People are really considering buying Cheese if he's cheap enough. Yeah, if he gets to about 300K, I might consider it. Is Dave Fafita buy? Or will he play Origin 2 and 3? It depends on Wednesday night. 100%. I'm going to watch that game. If Queensland win or lose, that'll tell us a lot. Do I need to hold a couple of $100,000 salary during the Origin period? Nah, spend all your money. If you got it to spend, go and spend it. Captain Yo, will he play 80 minutes? I don't think he will play 80 minutes, but there's a chance he does. He held Cotter. He probably will back up. But watch Origin first. All these Origin questions, it's a case of we got to watch Origin first, guys. For Tuolangi, trade Tuolangi to Strange or Strange to Dave Fafita. Probably Blaze. I'd probably sell Blaze instead of Strange, just because Strange covers round 16 for you. Holy Crichton. Well, trades. Let's get a few more here and then we'll finish up. So, because I got to fill buy, hold, sell. Should I use extra trades to get Hughes? Yeah, I like Hughes. Keep an eye on the Origin players that you have and those guys backing up. Strange, Hughes, and Hines to Fafita, Latrell, and Twal. Yeah, those are great trades. I like those a lot. 5 trades less is very light, but that's a good set of trades. Should I hold Teddy or Fuller? Hold Teddy over Fuller, 100%. But Fuller has the buy coverage, but I just think Teddy is a much better fantasy option. Wait and see the Origin game again with this one. If Teddy dominates, then maybe sell him. But if he looks like he's going to get dropped for Dylan Edwards, then buy. Then hold Fuller instead. Cotter for Yo. Meh. I'm not that into that. Captain Fafita or Cook. Fafita over Cook is my view, but could go either way. Cotter to Fafita. Piakura to Hands. Strange to Hughes. Yep. Great trades. Preston a buy. Nah, I don't think so. I'd skip him. Vinny Brody a buy through the Origin period. Yeah, so Vinny Brody, the thing about Vinny is that he's too good for the NRL. So you won't find him in your fantasy game. You actually have to win it all to see Vinny Brody in your fantasy player list. That's absolute crap, by the way. There's no Vinny Brody, all right? No more Vinny Brody. Should I trade May? He did me well last week as captain, rank 41 now. Mate, that is a great rank. Good job. Really good job. I would keep May just on the back of that game and on the back of the fact he plays round 16. So, yeah, keep him. Captain, Fafita, Moses, or Drinkwater. Probably Fafita is the best option there. Probably goes Fafita, Moses, then Drinkwater. But it could go any direction. Bit of topic, but Connor to Tarpanay next week. Not the worst option. Tarpanay had a great game last week, so could be an option. Collar a hold. I would hold him for 1 week. Hold Collar for 1 week just because he might be coming back softly. He might move to fullback on game day. It could be anything, right? So I'm going to give him 1 week. Did you rate Mitch Barnett fantasy? Not particularly. I don't think there's big upside there. And then do you reckon Collar goes back to fullback? I hope Collar goes back to fullback, but I'm really surprised that he wasn't named there. So it's a hard one to call. Anyway, guys, that is our reactions to Teamless Tuesday. Hopefully it was enjoyable for you. It was definitely a good time for me. Best of luck this week. We'll put out Buy, Hold, Sell 7 a.m. tomorrow. Make sure you're following on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I'm forgetting the names of things now. But Instagram in particular, we chuck a lot of updates up there during the weekend as well. So the Instagram is the casual athlete. Good place to be. A lot of updates going through there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Buy, Hold, Sell. Peace out.